Historian Jill Lepore has written books on topics ranging from Wonder Woman to the Tea Party. The best-selling author is now taking on a much bigger topic, the entire history of the United States. Her new book is called These Truths. Lepore tracks the nation's story starting with Christopher Columbus's voyage to the Civil War, the Civil Rights era, and President Trump's election in 2016. And she is with us now. Jill Lepore, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning.
This is kind of an epic job you took on.
Yes.
But it seems to me we couldn't need it more than we need it now. And one of the things I was struck by just in looking at this book is that a lot of us believe we're living in very polarized times. But this book shows us, in fact, that's been going on for a long time.
It has been going on for a long time. That doesn't relieve us of the obligation to think about why we're stuck in this now and how to get ourselves out of it. I mean, I too felt I really wanted there to be a book like this, so I thought, oh, I guess I'll have to try to write it.
Yes.
You know, I think it's understandable. The day-to-day news is completely consuming, and it's covered in such incredible detail. But it's worth pulling back and sort of trying to look across the centuries at the origins of these patterns and how people got out of similar jams in the past. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to try to cover the whole sweep of American history and all its contradictions and complexity.
But specifically like the partisanship and the inability to get along in Congress. I mean, they were caning and beating each other in the 1800s.
They were, and of course, you know, we fought a civil war in which 750,000 people died, but it was a war of emancipation and to be celebrated as well. I think what's different about our contemporary moment of polarization is that the polarization we're experiencing now was particularly built by political consultants in the 1970s, 1980s, really trying to get people out to vote over these emotional issues, guns and abortion.
Right.
That was the work that was done by political consultants for short term. Let's win this election next week.
Yeah, you said the difference is essentially automation.
Right. It was done by hand. This was built manually. But after the opening of the internet in the late 1990s, and especially after the rise of social media, that polarization really is now done by automation. So it's very difficult to figure out. I think so many people of great goodwill would like the country to be less polarized, would like to have conversations across partisan divisions. Even some of the more nefarious of our elected officials, I would like to think they would like to get us past this.
I'd like to think so.
It's very difficult to do because of the way the internet was opened up in a wholly unregulated way.
You highlight the female voices that are missing from our history books. Why so important to include them in sort of that story?
Yeah, I mean, shocking. You'd be shocked to hear that there aren't a lot of women in. You know, women's historians have been writing incredible work for the last half century, recovering the lives and voices of women. And somehow hasn't made it into the big story that we tell about politics, as if there's sort of women's history and then there's political history. So I really I didn't want to have a segregated history. I wanted to integrate those stories. And if you don't pay attention to women in the history of American politics, what you miss is a really crucial part of our political style, which is the female crusade, the moral crusade. Because women were denied the vote for so long that the way that they acted politically was to crusade, as it came out of the Second Great Awakening, out of the evangelical revival of the 1830s. They brought that evangelical fervor to the Abolitionist Movement to end slavery, a moral crusade that that women and men won. They brought it to the women's rights movement. In the 20th century, though, they also brought it to Phyllis Schlafly's campaign against the ERA was a moral crusade. It's actually in the 20th century been often a conservative.
You were working on the chapter on the Civil War when President Trump was elected, because you said that you had planned to end with the inauguration of Barack Obama. But in the middle of that, you said, I need to change the ending. I need to change the book.
Yeah. Well, it was really tough because the inauguration of Barack Obama was it's a dramatic, it's a great ending. You know, whoever you voted for, just ta-da! Like there's a sort of something is solved about the American agony of racial bondage and discrimination and segregation there, or it seems to be solved at that moment. And it's also a little distant in the past. We have some vantage on that election. But when the election happened in 2016, it just seemed to me a dereliction of duty to not cover that election. People who came out to vote for Trump supported him, felt themselves to be part of a political revolution. It's also clearly a realigning revolution.
Yes. I think it's important to say truth matters still, Jill.
Yeah.
Truth matters. And your book really points that out very, very well.
Absolutely matters, and it's a struggle.
Jill Lepore,
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
These Truths is on sale now.